Our family recently went through a period of 2 weeks with no screens in our home. And today I'm going to share with you some of the surprising things that came out of that process and kind of my thoughts and ideas about screens. I think we all know deep down that there are some issues with the amount of time we all spend on screens. I think this is a general knowledge, although I don't think anyone likes to admit it, because then means there are some changes that need to be made in our homes and for ourselves personally. And it's hard to make those changes. Know that this comes not from any sort of condemnation or anything like that, because this has been a struggle that I have faced in my own life, and I am just here to share how I've been changing things and what I have learned over the last couple of years in particular about screen time and the negative implications of spending too much time on screens. I think deep down we all crave a little bit more simplicity and quietness and stillness. I believe that the Lord made us that way, because in those still and quiet moments is when we can hear from Him. But the problem is that we have become so overstimulated and oversaturated and overabundance filled that we have lost track of that. We have allowed these opportunities and this incredible technology to become an addiction in our lives. And we are doing it to ourselves, not just our kids, but for us as well. And there is a problem there. I know for me, for a lot of years when I had really little kids and life was crazy hectic and busy, and I felt like I was being pulled in all of these different directions and could never keep up with everything that needed to be done, it was so easy for me to fall into the trap of retreating to the bedroom or somewhere with my phone so I could get on social media for a little while and connect with the outside world and feel like I wasn't all alone in this little bubble. And the problem then can lead to a form of addiction where we almost feel like we have to retreat to that in order to feel normal or feel a sense of worth or something like that, when we get caught up in the mundane everyday tasks of being at home and raising kids or homeschooling our children. That's kind of our window to the outside world. It's easy for us then to start to feel frustrated or bitter or unfulfilled in the roles that we have as a mom, as a homeschooler, as a wife, because what we are doing each and every day doesn't measure up to this unrealistic reality that seems to be out there on the internet. And so we then get bitter or frustrated and dissatisfied with the life we're given. I think that can really rob us of the joy of today and the moment that we are gifted with each and every day. And that's not all just social media. I mean, I'm talking any screen time, YouTube, watching the news, doing too much browsing on the internet, all of those kind of things add up to a very overstimulated and distracted life. So all of that to say, that is kind of what led us to wanting to do this 2 weeks of no screen time. Honestly, it was really more for us than it was for our kids. Our family has never been one to just like have a free-for-all when it comes to screen time with our kids. We've always had some limitations as far as obviously what they could consume on screens, as well as the amount of time that they have been allowed to do screen time. Our kids are not allowed on social media at all. They do have access to playing video games a couple times a week for an hour and a half or so. They watch a show Saturday mornings. We'll occasionally watch a YouTube video or two in the evenings. They do math is all online for them. And then they do spend a little bit of time either doing Photoshop or working on writing, those kind of things on the computer. And that's about it as far as their screen time allowances. Our kids already had these kind of limits in place. It was getting to the point of them wanting to be online more, to watch more YouTube videos or do something like that, and always asking for more. And we were starting to watch a little bit more than I feel like we probably should. During that time of no screens, our kids spent a lot more time reading. They were outside more. They actually got out board games without us prompting them and played board games together. They made up stories. They even made up games. We had more time together as a family where we were just actively engaging with each other and not just coexisting in the same space. We went on walks together almost every night. One night there was a thunderstorm that went through, and we could see kind of off in the distance the thunder clouds, and we could see the lightning strikes and the thunder rolling. And my husband went and sat out on the deck, and the kids all kind of trickled out and followed him, probably because it was getting close to bedtime and they were wanting to stay up a little bit late, but partly because it was really fun to watch. And normally in those cases, I would be like, oh, it's a quiet moment. I can go get some work done. I'm gonna do this or that. But I was like, no, I don't have any of that to do. I'm not getting on a screen. So I'm gonna go join them and soak up this moment together. And so we sat outside on the deck, and my kids just like, every time a lightning strike, they're just like, wow, look at that. You know, they were just so excited. And it was just this sweet time together that I think I'll remember forever, of us just enjoying that scene together, where had we all been on screens, we wouldn't even notice that that was going on. And I feel like there are so many times in our life, so many things that probably pass us by because we're so distracted by what's on here. This isn't real life. The people that are around you are real life. They're gonna remember the moments that you spend or that you don't spend with them. And I want to be one of those moms that our kids remember that we had great memories together, that we spent time together, that I wasn't so just distracted by my phone or a video that I had to make or something like that, but that I treasured them above all of the rest. And I think those times together are precious for all of us, and we need to have more of them. I think one of the things that surprised me the most was how this kind of brain fog just kind of lifted during this time of no screens. It was like my mind could think clearer. I was excited and engaged to read and to work on some projects I've been wanting to do, to actually get some things organized and cleaned around my house that needed to be done. Like, I actually looked forward to doing some of that stuff instead of thinking it was this tremendous burden that was taking me away from what I really wanted to do. My mind was so much more creative. Like, I came up with ideas and things that just having that stillness provided me the opportunity to think. We are in this place in this society today where we feel like we have to be consuming all of this stuff. Like, that's just what our society does. And we don't ever stop and slow down long enough to just think and process what is going on inside of us. And so having that time away from screens allowed me some time to really be a lot more introspective than I normally am, and to really, I think, mentally process through some struggles and some just different things that have been weighing on me. I believe there's some kind of saying about how as a Christian, the devil can't have you, but he can distract you. And a distracted Christian is an ineffective Christian. And the same goes with parenting. If you're too distracted as a parent, you're not going to be as effective as a parent as you can and should be for your children's sake. And I have learned this firsthand. Again, no judgment here. This is entirely things that I have learned through my own faults and failures in this particular area. When we are distracted from the roles that God has given us by being so consumed with all of the other things that are out there, we cannot then be diving into and living out our calling and fulfilling the roles that He has given us here at home in our families. We can't do both things. It just doesn't work that way. We can't have the world and be everything that we need to be at home as well. Rather than seeking what the world has to offer, our hearts need to be centered on what He has to offer instead, because out of Him is the only place that comes abundance and fruitfulness and fulfillment and contentment. I've seen that play out just in my own mind and heart, and anxieties and things that I have struggled with over the years. And I have also seen that play out as far as my relationship with my kids, with being a distracted parent and not being as on top of discipline or training in righteousness, and just dealing with conflicts within our home and really being active and available to do what I need to do with my family. True fulfillment can only be found in Him. It's not going to be found in the world that the enemy wants us to think that, oh, if you just click one more thing here, or if you just go do this other thing, then you're going to be happy and you're content. And that is a lie from the pit of hell. We need to flee all of those things and turn our hearts back to Christ. And that's not to say that we need to have no screens whatsoever. But there does need to be, I believe, some limitations on what we allow in, because the things that we let into our minds and into our hearts are going to be the things that we dwell on, the things that can start to consume us, and the things that we then start to behave like or take on and become like. And we don't want to become like the world. Jesus calls us to be set apart from the world. We are called to be in the world, but not of the world. And so we do still have to engage and interact and be part of this world. And tremendous good can come out of social media and the internet and this information age that we're living in. The Lord can do mighty things. He can reclaim, like He has a history of doing from eternity past, of taking what Satan intended for evil, God intended for good, and He can spin those things around and redeem those things. But we do have to just be careful. We have to be on our guard and to stand firm on the truth and figure out what the Lord is calling us to. What is the role that He wants us to fulfill? If you're a parent, that is first and foremost going to be taking care of your family and raising them up to know and love Christ and to love His word. And when we can do that, then that's like our ultimate goal and our ultimate responsibility. And all the rest of the things then are going to fall into place. So I've been on this process of trying to figure out how to balance all of that stuff. To obviously, my work is online. It's what I do. And there have to be limitations with the amount of time that I spend doing this so that I can be active and engaged with my family and what God has called me to first. And He led me to a verse a couple of months ago in Proverbs chapter 27. It says, starting in verse 23, "Know well the condition of your flocks and give attention to your herds, for riches do not last forever, and does a crown endure to all generations." And I really felt that He was speaking to me that I need to be focused more on my family, my kids, and the way that I am investing my time in them and building our home in a way that encourages them and teaches them and trains them in righteousness so that they can grow up to fulfill the purposes that God has for their life. And that means that I have to have some limitations on the amount of time that I spend making videos. I spend consuming other people's content and the news and social media, all of those kind of things. That needs to be limited so I can focus where my first and primary responsibility lies with my family. And so now we're kind of at this place of figuring out the balance between the screen time that I do feel like we do need to be part of to some extent. As far as our kids, they do need to know how to navigate the internet, how to do research online and different things like that. So there has to be some access and some ability to spend time on screens, but I do feel like the need more so now than ever to be very mindful and careful with the amount of time that we are spending online or on screens so that we don't fall back into that trap of it becoming an addiction again, because we don't want our kids to follow in that path. We don't want them to become addicted to screens. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what that perfect balance is. We're still trying to figure that out. But I'm curious how you manage screens in your home, if that's something that you allow with your kids, or if you're super strict and very limited with the amount of time that they can spend online. I would love to hear from you how you manage all of those things, and maybe if you've got some good tips to help others out, drop those in the comments below as well. If you find yourself in that place as a mom where you are just feeling frantic and overwhelmed and not really spending time to take care of yourself I encourage you to check out this video here that has some kind of outside of the box ideas for self-care. Things that you can do to help take care of yourself. If you got any value out of today's video, please hit that thumbs up button below and share this out with anyone else that you think might find it helpful. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your day to watch it. I hope you have a great day.